I mean, I'd like to, if we could, I don't know if it breaks your chain of thought, but growing up in Claremore schools, any memories, favorite teachers, what are some of those remembrances?
Westside had 6 grades and 4 rooms, and I think my favorite teacher, I started with Walter Riggs, Mrs. Graves, Pat Dixon was probably my favorite teacher. Then Miss Freeman taught, and then Mr. Anthos was the principal, so on and so on and so forth.
Pat Dixon went on to be a librarian for Claremore schools for many, many years, and Mrs. Graves, I had her in the 2nd grade, I think. So,
really?
Yeah. So you went from West Side then to junior high.
Junior high.
And were you at the new junior high that's now the
administrative building?
No, I
So
was
where was junior high then?
Yeah, it's the one that's administrative. It's right off of Jay Crider's house was catty corner.
It's probably 12th Street, isn't it?
Yeah,
it was at one time. It's
at 11.
It started out Will
11th
Rogers Junior High,
that's when I went Will Rogers Junior
and then
High.
it became Walter Reed Middle School, and then it became the administrative offices.
Well, the other thing that happened too is that the students that were at Lincoln, they also came to Will Rogers because, and this is another side story that you might enjoy. My mother was elected to the school board and was on the school board with Mary's dad, John. And so, of course, she's a woman and she's from the north, she's a Yankee. And so, I don't know whether it set real well with a lot of people. In fact, John Gilkerson, who was an attorney here, I think he was on the school board. And I think that it was kind of stuck in some people's craw a little bit about her. But anyway, so what happened was, the federal government said, if you take federal funds for your school system, you will integrate. This is after Little Rock and Faubus.
Right.
And so my mother said, all right, we're taking federal money, we're going to integrate. And John Gilkerson said, if you integrate these schools, I will move my children to a private school. And you know what she said to him? John, get them enrolled. Because we're going to integrate.
Yeah.
Now, there was some little friction with some of the teachers at the Lincoln School who are now teaching at Claremore. There was some people, I think Bertha Troop.
Bertha Troop, and then also Mrs. Jones taught.
Pat Jones and Darnell's mom.
So in '56 was when Claremore integrated high school.
Yeah.
The grade schools and junior high came after that, but in '56 was the first high school group that merged. But ultimately the teachers merged over as well.
Yeah, and there's a funny story about that too, because there was some complaint that came from the cafeterias when they would go to a central distribution point and to pick up food for the next week or whatever. And so from the schools that were still all white, they would go to this distribution and they would put down they wanted some chicken to cook and some ice cream for dessert. And every time they went, there wouldn't be any chicken and there wouldn't be any ice cream. And so it came to the board of directors, to the school board, what's going on here? And so they finally figured out that the cooks at the Lincoln School, they got there first and got the chicken and the ice cream. That's right.
They knew the schedule, so.
Yeah, they knew the schedule. And what else could I tell you about that? Of course,
How about high school teachers? Any favorites there?
Was that at this high school right across the street?
It was where the Baptist churches got their deal.
Right.
Yeah.
The original high school on 4th and Chickasaw, isn't it? Yeah.
There was a teacher named Beulah Walker who taught sophomore English. And I think she'd been there since prehistoric times. And so when I got there, as a sophomore. She said, Elliott Gordon, she's calling roll. She said, are you related to Minor Gordon? I said, yeah, it's my dad. She said, get out of my class. I guess, because my dad had brought my granddad had bought the boys a pony to ride to school.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad told this girl that if you touch my pony, the sweat from that horse will make your hand fall off. That was
And you graduated what year?
64.
Class of 64.
Yeah.
I remember something that was rather interesting is when I was a sophomore, and so you were a senior, and the day that JFK got killed and assassinated, we were upstairs in the third floor study hall.
And I'm the guy that brought the fan.
The flag.
Coach Klein said, Elliott,
Lower the flag
Lower
to
the
half
flag.
mast.
And I-
And then after you did that, none of us understood why, because we were in study hall. I was with Phil Viles, and we all looked around and said, what happened? And you walked by me and looked at me and said, you're not going to believe it. Somebody assassinated JFK.
Wow.
And I remember all of us were, but you said, I've got the flag at half staff. And not too long after that, Mr. McKeever, who's the principal, had very severe heart disease, never walked those stairs.
yeah.
And that day he did.
Huh.
He walked up there, and he didn't know for sure that you knew how to do it correctly or something. But I remember he came in there and raised the window and looked out. And then he came back in. He said he
Yeah.
did a good job.
It's amazing.
That was a tremendous,
Yeah, it's very-
impactful moment in all of our
Yeah.
lives in that time period.
So the coach, the coach and teacher that I liked the best was Bill Dost,
Mm-hmm.
because he made you outline the book,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you learn how to study.
Sure.
And then he judged your outline, and then that's how you got your grade. And I really liked him as a coach too. I wasn't real fond of Bear Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a little too stressed, a little too strict.
So did you play sports in high school?
Yeah, I lettered in football 4 years.
Okay.
Center.
Very good.
Huh?
You were the center, right?
Yeah,
Center.
yeah. I had to learn how to spin the ball so the
Yeah.
guy punting it would get it, but
Yeah.
got that figured out, and so on and so forth.